So you were saying earlier that the reason why you are not in a committed relationship is due to the fact that you have some things that you need to unpack.
When did I say that? Where's a boo?
I'm just trying to help you.
Where's a boo?
I'm trying to help you as a friend. I don't think you do. I think you say that you're introspective, but I think actually all the friends that have told you that maybe your introspection may need to be coupled with therapy might be correct.
More about this.
I'm trying to be a friend.
Tell me, why do you think this?
Because I think...
Is this all for show?
No, it's not all for show. I don't do things for show. I think... Because I know...
For her friends.
No, darling.
For viewers.
No, darling. No, darling. No, darling. I know that you love love. I know that part of the reason, and you never say it, that you came to New York City is to find love. And I feel like until you admit to yourself the reasons and the want of me wanting real love, it will not happen, darling. I want you to have love. I want you to be crazy in love. I want you to be drunk in love.
Drunk in love.
Okay.
Yes, for sure. That coming to New York, a part of the fantasy was my Blaine and Kurt fantasy.
Who's Blaine and Kurt? Is that Brokeback Mountain?
We might be of different ages.
What's Blaine and Kurt?
Lee.
Oh. I did not like that show.
Wow. Okay, so
I didn't like that show because I was like, everybody in this show is all happy. All the gay people are running and laughing. In my
she didn't
school,
watch the show.
they were running and hiding.
She didn't watch the show because she didn't see any of the horrors that these gay people went to, which was bullying being thrown into the garbage dumpster.
Didn't the person that threw them in the dumpster, wasn't they gay too?
No.
Yes.
No. No.
All I saw was they're all
jocks.
running and laughing. And in my school, all the gays were running and hiding.
He wasn't a homosexual. He just wanted to not be a jock. He wanted to be Glee. Children these days don't know anything.
Sorry, I interrupt your story.
Don't have any taste.
Bert and Harry, what about them?
Kurt and Blaine.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
They were my fantasy when they...
Did they come to New York?
In high school. So they met up in high school, yep. Cute. Love, 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 love. First gay couple. We'll talk about that in another episode. First gay couple, for examples, for me to see. But yeah, once we graduated high school, they did come to... Well, one of them moved to New York. And they had this long-distance relationship that was exhausting.
Oh, one of them going to Juilliard.
Yes.
I'm telling you, I know this shit. They were laughing and hugging and running.
The nostalgia of Teenage Dream being sung as a sad breakup song when it was the song that introduced us to the second gay and had Kurt falling in love to then be a breakup song at a bar in NYC.
See, this is how I know we're different, because your fantasy is Kurt and Harry having a long distance relationship via Juilliard. I watched Pose and I thought I was going to come to New York and end up on the pier.
Prostituting?
Because I couldn't find a job when I first got here.
Okay.
I'm joking. My fantasy,
OnlyFans,
my fantasy, like many people who have come and then been disappointed, was Sex in the City. I'm not gonna lie. Like Carrie,
the glam,
absolutely fucked a whole generation of people with selling a New York that exists sometimes, but a lot of the time,
people who have money
doesn't exist.
It exists for people who have money.
That's true, but the whole premise was that she didn't have any money.
Well, that's a lie.
Yes,
look at the
apartment
she lives in. Look at the fashion.
She's wearing Manolo Blahniks.
She didn't have credit card debt though, so that's okay.
That's true.
But yeah, so I mean, yes, I want love, but I just don't have the time to dedicate to it.
Well,
so I better stumble upon it in a very cute, meet cute sort of way.
Maybe I should be your therapist because that's the first time that you have admitted to that.
That's the first time it's been brought up in conversation to me.
Lee Balm. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Holding Space with Z and Lee.
Welcome.
Okay, your top New York DEI podcast. And what else? You're right, babes. You're alright.
I'm all right. How are you?
That's gonna be my fantasy if we ever do a live show.
Are you doing that?
Yes. So
Mine is gonna be
so continuing from the conversation around Sex and the City D and Pose,
yes.
we're holding space for
Something
keeping
simple.
us comfort.
Something simple.
Uh-huh.
Little more chill than our normal holding spaces.
See?
What shows are we currently invested in?
Right.
Finding comfort in.
What is bringing us comfort in a time where our beds are cold and lonely? What are we watching on the laptop next to us because there's no man?
Someone is lying here.
Who's lying?
In this room.
Who's lying?
The bed is not that cold.
Yours?
Maybe lukewarm.
You have Mr. Sir Ma'am. So it's, I guess, not that cold.
No, I'm not talking about me.
Oh, you're talking about me?
Yes.
What about me? By the time this airs, there may be no man.
Well, there you go.
Well, so we'll have to wait and see.
But I look to the audience.
Well, I don't have a man at the moment. There is a suitor,
a potential,
a heavy indication that one may be on the correct route to a relationship, but currently I am still on the market and alone.
Lonely. Let's go back to last week and talk about it again.
Mr. Lonely.
Lonely.
So tell me, what is comforting you at night?
Well, a dildo.
I was talking about TV shows.
I'm joking. So lots of shows. I'm a very visual person, so I love me a good show. I tried real quick before we jump into shows. I tried to watch Baby Girl last night.
Was it good? It keeps popping up on my Macs as the first thing to watch.
I talked about this last week when we were talking about interns, because that man who she ends up getting involved with is the worst fucking intern I've ever seen. He has zero social cues. He's talking to the CEO of the company as if she's the girl on the street next door. It's the craziest thing. I'm like, he should have been fired.
Oh, right.
They like met in the elevator. Like, it was just very much like, I'm like, oh, he would have been fired immediately. Like, what is going on?
Did you finish it?
No.
Why didn't you finish it?
I got bored.
It's just not drawing me. I actually don't want to watch Nicole on her knees drinking milk.
I was gagged. I was typing out some episodes last night while it was on in the background, and all of a sudden I'm like,
I don't know if I want to see that. I really rate Nicole Kidman as an actress. I think she's the hardest working actress in Hollywood. And I think that she has a IMDb that only people could dream of.
yes.
But I don't have any interest. Do you know what it also is?
Huh.
Not to say that there isn't power in what she's doing, but I am just aroused by powerful women in films and TV shows.
Yeah.
And her doing that, it just wasn't.
You're saying she's not powerful.
No, I think she's in power. She's holding the control. This young boy, he's getting her to do whatever. But it's just, no, I'd rather see her doing something else.
Yeah. Well, we can say that this movie was just not for us. It was not made as for us to be the audience.
Right. Who's the audience?
And
who do you think was it aimed at?
Powerful women who need an escape. I don't know.
Don't they pay for gigolos and stuff?
But that's kind of what she does.
If I had the money, I don't think I'd be looking for a boyfriend.
So if they can relate to that, then they might enjoy it. But, something that we'll talk about later in a second is holding space for people who don't have opinions, or who say that they don't have opinion on a matter. Right. This is one of those things where it may just not be for us, and we don't need to have an opinion on the matter.
Right.
Anyway, getting back to shows. What are you watching right now? What's happening?
So I've just got through The Gilded Age, which is a show on HBO, period show, based in America. I love a period drama. I'm a big Downton Abbey fan. One of my favorite of all time movies is Elizabeth with Kate Blanchett. She won an Oscar for it. She played Elizabeth I, who was a Tudor, and then she did the follow-up, which is Elizabeth the Golden Age. I love The Crown. I am that guy. Like, I love, and it's not just British aristocracy and monarchy. I I also find the French royalty to be really interesting as well.
Okay.
I still haven't found a good movie on the woman that lost her head, but Marie Antoinette. But
You didn't like the one with what's her face?
no, because it was like a comedy.
Oh,
Yeah, it wasn't. I like when if I don't like I wouldn't watch a period drama if it was a comedy.
Oh,
I wouldn't
okay.
find that funny. I need to see what 1669 Britain looked like. No toilet, no lights, the haves and the haves nots, working in the workhouse. That's
So,
what I want.
Les Mis is truly.
I hate Les Mis. It's such a miserable film.
Why do I feel like you hadn't seen it? Was it somebody else?
I haven't seen it. I hate Les Mis.
I haven't seen it.
But listen, I started watching it and I was like, if I'm going to watch a musical, this is not fun. Even Annie and Oliver Twist had some fun in there. This is not fun. Her teeth are falling out. This is not fun at all.
History, baby.
Girl.
Reality.
That is not it for me. I want
That's
my
fair.
musicals to have peaks and troughs.
There was.
No, it was miserable.
just
What is the
really-
first scene in that film?
I don't remember.
Isn't she like in the alleyway?
No.
Oh.
Okay. The Last of Us is the other thing that
The
you're
Last of
watching?
Us is the other thing that I've been watching. It's a dystopian drama on HBO. You can tell that I've just recently got a Max subscription. And it's basically a virus that has taken the human race and they become a zombie. And I didn't think I'd like it because I watched it for the first time either 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
And I didn't like the first episode. And then I got into it. And I completed it in a day.
Oh, wow.
And the last thing that I've been watching is Severance, which is on Apple. If you want to watch it, currently Apple are doing 3 months trial for free. So you have 3 months to watch Severance, season 1 and 2. And I just think it's such a smart concept, which I would love to hold space for one day, which is, would you want your work and personal life to be severed? If you had the option.
That's what it's about?
That's what it's about. So you don't remember what happens at work.
I remember seeing commercials for this.
Yeah, it's great. It's really good. I think you'd really like it because it's one of those things where you're like, what would that be like? Because you obviously bring so much baggage home from work, but also for a lot of people that what you do at work is what makes you feel fulfilled.
Right.
So
I think that'd be good. That'd be a good exercise because then you'd have to find fulfillment outside
of work, yeah. But still have all your bills paid and not feel tired and not have to come home with, oh my God, my manager was such a bitch to me today. You don't have any of that. So it's interesting. You should watch it.
Anyway, I am watching. What am I watching? Oh, I just started watching You. You know, the one where he's a stalker and
Are you enjoying
kills people. I think it's kind of interesting because of his like mental gymnastics is like psychotic, but like in a very interesting way, to be honest.
I don't like shows like this. So like I put it in the same bucket as the show Lost, right? So the reason why I stopped watching Lost is because I was like, after watching the first season, these people are never going to be found. And there's 6 seasons of them being lost. No thanks.
Well,
then another show called Found. I realized these people are always going to be lost. So I don't want to watch it.
No.
They've just cancelled it. But like any show that's like that, where it's like, so for example, why I love Game of Thrones so much is because it really helped with my undiagnosed ADHD brain.
Okay.
Because there's lots of plots happening at the same time. Characters that you fall in love with then are dead. Like that is like my thing. Whereas I don't like shows where it's like lost.
I don't think it is.
Yeah. It is.
No.
He's still a stalker who's not been charged of stalkering.
Yes. But he has completely different scenarios.
There's different women each season. I know this.
But different scenarios.
What do you mean different scenarios?
The first one is like somebody he like randomly became obsessed with by walking by her. The second one is somebody he started dating and they start, I think it's the second one, they start like killing people for each other for love. They have a baby together. Like they like actually are further along. The third one is him basically trying to start a new life without her because he got tired of the death of the killing and goes to the UK and tries to start a life there and ends up having somebody else be a killer that uses him to like clean things up. It's very like classist and interesting. And then there's the new one that's like him with his new boo. And I don't know because I haven't finished it what happens, but it's very interesting to me. It's not actually lost like he's never been found. There's some ups, there's some loose ends that are tied each season.
There's nothing about what you just said that has sold the show.
Great. I don't
You
care
said
if you
that-
watch it or not.
He traveled around the
It
world
was great for
stalking
me.
women. Wonderful.
Another thing that I'm getting into is Ghost Whisperer, going back and watching Miss Jennifer Love Hewitt.
She good in that.
I mean, it's an old show.
She
so
good in
it's
it, though.
cheesy as fuck, but it's very fun. I love a little ghost story, and I love the dramatics of her. Her gasps, like she's like teary-eyed every single time she sees a ghost, even though she sees ghosts 24/7.
Do you want to tell us about your RuPaul rewatch before we move on?
No. No. I'll save that for another episode because I feel like there's another, it'll tie into something else at a later date.
Okay.
But I do really quickly want to say something about Four Seasons because I almost forgot about Four Seasons. If you haven't watched this, it's a new Tina Fey, Steve Carell
with Coleman
show.
Domingo.
Coleman Domingo's in it.
I really want to see that.
It's very short and very cute, very funny.
Short?
Like it's not a full it's not like 8 episodes.
Is it not a
Actually,
movie?
it might be 8 episodes, but it's half-an-hour episodes, so it's like it goes quickly.
Oh, cute.
Basically, it's about a friend group that like goes on vacation. So like so there's 2 episodes per season, right? Like so you get started in the summer or spring, go to summer, fall, winter. And so each season they're linking up for different vacations, and you kind of are understanding a later life story for a gay couple and then 2 straight couples, one of which is but I don't want to spoil it, but different marital like situations in terms of issues that they're processing, things that they're going through, working through, all that jazz. You get to see the different like way that they're responding to those things. One of the perspectives that I thought was interesting was talking about a divorcee in terms of man, and his lack of self-awareness / selfishness, meaning that as he's like processing, like trying to move on, he only sees from his perspective. So he doesn't see that his family is hurting. And he comes at conversations like that. And it's pointed out blatantly to his face that he's doing that. And I thought that was a very interesting perspective to have pointed out, because I think that happens a lot with men who leave their wives for different reasons, whether it's getting tired, wanting a younger person, whatever, and not taking the accountability for the impact that your decision to move on has. So anyway, just thought that was very interesting, and that can be something we unpack maybe another episode in terms of.
Yeah, let me watch it and I might come back with thoughts.
Yeah.
How about that?
Very good. And Tina Fey's great. Coleman Domingo's great. We love a gay couple.
I love Coleman.
Yeah.
I have thoughts about
Tina.
Yeah. Anyway,
Tina, don't watch this. So actually watch it because I love you.
Holding space. I wanted to hold space real quick.
Yeah.
For, as you mentioned earlier, people who say, I don't have an opinion on this. And the reason for that is because it's something that I've actively been trying to do more.
Okay.
Because I think we are living in a world where people believe they are entitled to have an opinion about everything, whether they're informed or not. And our news, social media has platformed those people as being as important as an expert, as important as somebody that is incredibly informed about said topic.
Yeah.
And so I think that I grew up during a time where it was okay to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have an opinion on that. That's none of my business. I don't care. But for some reason now we live in a world where you must feel or have an opinion about everything, whether it affects you, whether it doesn't. Like, you have to have a strong opinion on that. And obviously social media is a big part of it, because if you feed the algorithm opinions, then you will become more popular.
Yeah.
But I really am trying to proactively say, I don't have an opinion on that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you're right. Social media definitely has spurred that because even for celebrities and stuff, there used to be this era of like celebrities we came to for their talent, right? And that was it. With social media, I think with people having the platform, the concept of using that platform to impact change or to say opinions has then pushed on to celebrities too. Um, and so I think it has just pushed that everybody needs to have an opinion. And if we don't align, then that's a problem. Or at least now I know so that I cannot support you in certain ways or whatever it may be, right?
Yeah, I think that it also, because we kind of live in this time where people are on one side or the other.
Yeah.
You're kind of forced into having an opinion so that you align somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have people who are just like, I'm non-political, which
Yeah.
I don't agree with either.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I just want us to practice more saying, I don't know, I don't have an opinion.
Yeah.
It's none of my business. Like the UK that I remember growing up in,
Yeah.
that was it. That's very much, it hasn't necessarily been so much part of American culture. I think American culture has always kind of been like, let me stick my nose in your business.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the UK, we're very much just like, it's none of my business. I don't really care.
Right.
Whatever they do next door, who cares kind of
Right.
thing. But now we, are always trying to keep up with what you guys are doing. And it now has turned into this dumpster fire of everybody feeling like they need to have an opinion about everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we'd all be a lot happier if we didn't have to have an opinion. I know this is ironic considering I'm on a podcast sharing my opinions.
LOL.
But I just think that you will hopefully, well, I will never say I don't have an opinion because we're not going to talk about something that I don't have an opinion about. But if I don't have an opinion, you will hear me say I don't have an opinion.
Yeah. Might be on something that I say though.
It might be something that you say.
Yeah. I also, so I'm like of the nature where I also think that like governments should not have to have an opinion on everything.
For example,
like this is a little bit of a stretch, but in terms of like queer marriage, like the government does not need to have an opinion on whether it's right or wrong, right? I don't even think we should be voting on gay marriage. I think it should be from a business standpoint, which government as a business, does this impact us negatively or positively? Meaning, so like, I don't think they should have an opinion on the morality of it. I think they should have an opinion or maybe more of a fact-backed understanding of how it impacts economy, legal.
Well, I think that's how government used to be run.
Yeah.
I think government used to be run on data.
Yeah. Data.
And
exactly
on the facts for the majority and not really wanting to get into the minutia of personal issues unless they were harmful.
Right.
But now, because of we live in a world in multiple countries where governments do believe it's their position to be able to move their agenda forward, to use identity and adjacent issues as a way to move forward. Like, in the UK, we're still having this debate about immigration. The fact is that the UK needs immigration because immigrants bring a lot more to the country than if we don't have them. The UK has always needed immigration to be able to be prosperous.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if you open any newspaper, they are talked about in some of the most deplorable ways ever. And the newspapers do not differentiate between immigration and illegal immigration. They just put it all in one bucket.
Yeah.
So they will write, and I'm paraphrasing or just using an example, 10 million immigrants over the last 5 years. Now you will realize that 100,000 of those were illegal immigrants. The rest had their paperwork, were over here for school, were over here to help your mum in hospital, were here to help with building products that we need. Like, they all have a reason to be here, but they're reported in a way to demonize them and make them seem like pushing their agenda. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Should we move on?
Yeah. Let's move on to Deep or Dumb.
Deep or Dumb.
Which is going to be, do we feel like we are living in a correct timeline, or do we appreciate the timeline that we're living in?
So the deep question is,
Do we like that we're living in this?
is this a deep question or is it a dumb question?
I don't know. It could be whatever you want.
Okay, fine. So, I'm gonna go with. I really miss 2010.
Okay. That and you liked our timeline because you liked 2010.
Well, I thought you meant timeline as in present timeline.
Our timeline includes everything that you've been through so far.
I don't understand this question. What do you mean timeline?
Like, basically, I'm trying to think of how to reword it. Everything that's happening in our life is a part of our timeline, right? Like, this is our current timeline. What we're processing, everything is a part of our current. Do you feel like this timeline is messed up? Meaning, is there a better version that you wish you were a part of?
In the past or the future?
Both.
I don't know the future yet.
Okay, then in the past.
Okay.
In the past.
I said 2010.
Okay. So
Oh, no, but you're saying it has
you just
to
want to go back to 2010. That's not the same thing.
You're saying,
Okay, here, let's rephrase. Let's do a different type of question. Do you ever feel honored being in the same timeline as someone? Meaning, like let's say your life started when pop music started. Like, are you honored to be a part of this era that had such a boom of pop? Or would you have rather been, born in the 20s to get the jazz era? You know what I mean? Like, it could be something as
got you.
dumb
Okay.
as that, or something as deep as I love, I don't know, whatever movement is happening politically.
So I really miss 2010.
Circling right back. He's gonna say that regardless of what the question is. I love 2010
because I think it was the last good year.
Okay.
Like, I'm just like, Obama was still president. We all seem to want to get.
That's it. Done.
We all seem to want to get along. I think that crash had happened, but I was a kid. I didn't really understand what was going on.
Which crash?
Financial crash. That was 2008.
Okay.
But I don't know. I just felt like people were nicer to each other, and I feel like gay marriage was soon after that, and it just felt like everybody was on the same page about being progressive. Even people that were on the right were somewhat progressive. They wanted to find ways of accepting their queer family, and they didn't want to use the N-word and all of that kind of stuff. When you see John McCain saying to a person at a rally, like, you don't want to call the Barack Obama a terrorist, he's not. Do you know what I mean? Like, that decency is
protecting
is gone.
Reality,
But to answer your question more directly, I don't think that there is, for me, as a Black person or a gay person, a better time to have lived than in my timeline.
Right.
I think that, yes, you can do a pick and mix on some of the things that, I would have loved to go to Studio
54.
I would have loved to attend a fashion show in the 90s.
Yeah.
I would have loved, I was going to say, try certain things when it was good, but I don't want to say that anymore.
When what was good? What are you trying?
I would love to experience the ballroom scene in the 90s.
Oh.
I would have loved to have gone to Woodstock.
Okay.
I would have loved to. Okay, this one's really like us. This is like,
go for it,
out there. Okay. I want to know. I do want to know. I would love to know all of the things that were lost during like colonialism. Colonialism.
No, I'm not gonna be able to say it either. Colonialism.
Like, before
yes,
the Europeans went into Africa, went into America, went into India. I would love to have seen what it looked like. And I feel like there is so much that I don't know about myself. When you hear people say that, like, it was the Europeans that brought Christianity to Africa, and that before that, Africans accepted non-binary people and accepted queerness. I would love to have, I feel like so much was burnt and lost and destroyed so that we didn't know who we were. And I think if I wasn't going to live now, then it would have to go all the way back then for me to get an understanding of what was really taken.
Yeah, I agree. I actually think the idea of being in what is now the US before it was called the US would be extremely gorgeous.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's plenty of positives and negatives, I'm sure, of,
Mm.
surviving during that time period, but yeah, I think that would be so incredible and magical.
That's what I'm saying. I think that like Europe,
Uh,
as much as Europeans or white Europeans like to talk about the success that Europe has
yeah.
had around the world, I do think as somebody who is knowledgeable and somebody that is got a history that they don't quite understand,
Uh-huh.
I think that like Europe probably has done more harm than good.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that like, when you hear about how witchcraft in Africa became a negative thing
Mm-hmm.
when it was used as medicine and all of that kind of things, I'm like,
Mhm.
we can't really contemplate how much has been lost.
Yeah.
You can't really, I think it's beyond any thinking
Yeah.
in trying to understand how much was actually destroyed and taken away.
Mhm.
Um, and I think a lot of it probably would have helped the world
Absolutely.
um, in a way that we will just never know. And I think
Mhm.
potentially um, the version of like, I guess, Black people that we have today would have been very different if
Mhm.
we had a better understanding of where we come from. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, I think other than that, I think now is the best time to be alive. If
Yeah.
I'm not pickpocketing specific
Specific
things,
instances. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I hear you. I agree. I agree.
I feel, some people who live in countries, like, for example, if you're a gay person in Saudi Arabia, you may
Mhm.
not feel that way, right?
Right.
But like, I obviously, if you have the luxury of living in still America or the UK or any of the countries where your identity is not criminal,
Yeah.
I can't really think of a better time.
Yeah, I agree. I also think as gay men in New York, there's also a whole separate kind of unpacking of the era. We have so much privilege.
Yeah.
Um, we have access to elders who have made it through, horrendous moments in time, and we can talk to them. We can hear the stories, share the stories. So, I think that's a place of privilege. I also think that like where we are medically for gay men, crazy. Like I wouldn't want to be a part of any other time period for that purpose. Yeah, I think we're quite.
Still confuses me.
What do you mean?
Because obviously gay men were having sex for decades and decades
Yeah,
prior to the 80s.
yeah.
It still confuses me how, like,
I think it's a conspiracy.
well, it's not a conspiracy, it's a fact. Gay men have
Yeah.
always been having sex. Didn't
No, no.
start
I
in the
mean, like,
80s.
you think that like AIDS was
Well, I just don't, it doesn't make any
popped
sense.
out of nowhere?
It
Like,
doesn't make any sense
yeah.
to me.
I hear you.
Because I'm like, if I if you were telling me that another time where it's very much documented
Yeah.
where gay men were very liberal
Uh-huh.
was during the Roman era.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They would have their wife and they would have their concubine, which sometimes was the guy.
Yeah.
There wasn't AIDS running through
Right.
Rome. Do you
Right.
know what I mean? And so I just, someone might be listening to this and have all the answers, but
Right.
it's something that I have pondered about,
Mm.
which is the way that it's spoken about is
Yeah.
if gay people started in the 80s and when they started, they had all of these sick problems.
Yeah.
When actually we all know that we've always existed. And
Yeah.
so what was specific about that time that meant that that happened,
I don't know.
which I don't completely understand.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
But yeah, I agree with you.
The origins, I don't know if that's,
I don't think that it's ever been. I mean, they obviously imply that it has something to do with wildlife.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't. My I'm not a conspiracy theorist,
Uh-huh.
but my um antenna
Uh-huh.
is
Turn
like
off a
I
little
don't
bit.
feel like I know the correct story.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. It wouldn't surprise me if there was some biological warfare happening. Like, who controls the narrative?
Who's gonna admit to that?
Nobody.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Also, hearing China talk about COVID, I don't know if you've seen any of this.
No.
And having some research to say this may not have actually been from here. this may have been from the US, and I don't know if this is just the petty playing of the tariff war happening. Yeah. But I saw that this week where they were like, actually, we're working on publishing some things to prove other things. And I don't know, again, I don't know if it's been confirmed by the medical agencies that are, set over the world or what, but there was some discussion over that. And so in my head, like if we see something play out where we find out that was a biological warfare moment, then
plot twist.
There's a lot that we could look at again in history and be like, oh, was this intentional?
Yeah.
Was that intentional? So I don't, not to disrespect anybody who had to, who lived through this and, whatnot, but like there is a potential that there's misinformation.
There's definitely misinformation. There's definitely things that we don't know about.
Yeah.
Like for example, when the COVID vaccine was being made, they're like, oh, because of the COVID vaccine, I think we found the cure to HIV.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, huh? Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I don't know. So were we just not looking, or what?
Right.
Like, what do you mean, kind of thing?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think we ever truly will understand, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Especially when you're a minority, they don't necessarily prioritize that sort of research or transparency.
Uh-huh.
But yeah. Why? Was there another time that you went to live in?
No.
Okay.
No, I also think that as a gay man, this is like
the best of times, and the worst of times.
But the other part of the question is like, is there anybody that you feel privileged to be a part of their timeline? Like for me, like I'm super privileged to be, like I feel privileged to be a part of Beyonce's timeline, for example.
Aww.
Because I just think like the way that she's come up.
You're gonna find a way to say Beyonce every
I know. I don't want this to feel like a fan club for Beyonce. Like there's some, actually I'll save this for later. We can edit this out and not talk about Beyonce because
you said Beyonce last episode.
I am going to talk about her in a later episode because I'll talk about her education.
Beyonce as a mother last episode. You spoke about Beyonce in the episode before that. You did a whole section about Beyonce. So yes, we are proud to live in Beyonce's timeline.
I mean, I'm also proud to live in RuPaul's.
Aww.
Like,
I think you would be so happy to hear that.
Like, it's iconic.
You're just gonna mention all the people that you mentioned
last episode. It's because they're at top of the list. I think also though, like Barack Obama. Yeah, that's an iconic moment to be a part of. That's an iconic timeline to be a part of.
If I got a hamster, I'd want to call it Barack.
A hamster?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to be able to like, because I wouldn't want my hamsters to be in a cage.
Okay.
So I just want to be able to scream.
Barack, if you hear this, I am so sorry. I don't know. I feel like that in my head, there are a few different like iconic moments or people.
I got you.
That I'm actually, I feel privileged to be part of. Like,
who do I feel privileged to? It's a good question. That's a good question. Are people born? No.
Like some people might say Whitney Houston. Like that's a big moment.
Who do I feel us is privileged to be living at the same time as them?
It could be friends and family too. Like, sure, I love my friends, and I'm privileged to be a part of their timeline.
I don't think I have an answer to that question. I don't
okay.
have an opinion.
We're holding space for you this week. Anyway,
should we move on?
Yes, we can move on. Let's do Dear Z and
Dear Z. Oh, hey Dear, Haley.
The guy I'm dating is liberal passing, but in his own time, tunes into right-wing people like Andrew Tate. Is this a red flag?
Yeah.
I don't know what liberal passing means.
Liberal passing, so I'll explain it to you. Liberal passing is if you have a boyfriend and everybody thinks that they believe in gay marriage, they believe in an equality for all, they believe that women should be paid equal. That's liberal passing.
But does he?
But no, but then in their alone time, the information that they're taking in is normally extreme right-wing points of view. And the reason why on some level, they know that sharing that information would get people to look at them sideways. So it's better for them to be liberal passing.
But do they believe in the liberal views or no?
No, that's why it's passing.
Okay, but then I think you already have a red flag.
So totally a red flag. I'm actually going to drop a clip in of a whole. It's like a clip from CNN.
Yeah.
A woman who basically did an investigation into liberal passing men. Yeah, it's a real thing.
But
Like men who work in the finance industry, men that work in several different industries where they present themselves to be open-minded, equality for all people.
yeah.
It's almost like that woman who donated to Barack Obama's campaign, but still called the police on the black man and was like, he's trying to get me. It's that kind of thing where it's sort of just like,
switch on you like that.
your core is not what you are presenting it to be. So yes, you're correct. It is a red flag because number one, you never really know who you're living with ever. That's the scary part. But I would say
dating a guy, we're not living yet. Okay.
I just think on one hand, I'm like, they're entitled to listen to whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if the remedy to people like Andrew Tate is to go, no one should listen to him. Is that a remedy?
Sure.
I mean, it's a remedy.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, for example, I have listened to certain people who I've unfortunately been exposed to just to get an understanding of who these people are.
Okay.
But I think if you find that the core of who he is, or the part of him that he's hiding from you, is showing up in your relationship, then that's probably not the person you should date because men like that can't hide for too long. They can't keep the mask on forever. And it's likely that when you do decide that he is the one for you and he feels like he's got you, that's when all of this, the mask will fall off. And suddenly you're a statistic.
Yes, I also see that as a red flag. However, I just don't understand how much of a red flag it is because I don't know the politics of the person that asked the question. Meaning that if they're both more conservative,
I don't think she is because I don't think she would say liberal passing then because she would be like, I know who my boyfriend really is. He's really a right wing person, and so am I. So there's no reason for a question. But
but like if you're,
she probably met him as a liberal passing person.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, even so, though, that the situation, if you're both conservative people and he's more far right or like watching things that are a little bit more far right that could encroach on even though you're both conservative, still could go too far conservative for the relationship. But I guess it would be like maybe less of a reaction or less of a red flag because you're already on the same side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
But if you're liberal versus conservative and then having this even more extreme opinions coming into that perspective, then I say it's a bigger red flag because you're already kind of in a weird spot of like having completely opposite views on most things. And you have to decide how much of a red flag that is in terms of importance. But you get what I'm saying? Like,
so you've never had a friend or an intimate partner who was passing as one thing and turned out to be something else?
I don't think so.
Because obviously I see it in the workplace a lot. Like I saw it a lot after 2020.
Okay.
Where the George Floyd situation happened.
Yeah.
I would say a lot of people, white and non-white, were passing as wanting to understand and move things forward.
Yeah.
And now we've seen that actually that mask was never real, right?
Gotcha.
So what I mean is like,
okay.
And then you might then feel as a black person, oh, I feel like I'm being seen. I feel like I feel like real progress and real change is happening. And then you realize that that person at their core never actually felt that way. And that's the scary part.
I think part of my dilemma in understanding this is that I see the same red flags on the regular with Christians in politics.
Christian passing. Let's talk about that.
Not even Christian passing, just literally Christians in politics.
Passing is what though?
Not passing, just saying like not the hypocrisy. Like the performative basically the performative like protesting in a way that like this isn't coming out the way that I need it to. The way that Christians speak on one thing, say they believe one thing and then vote opposite.
Yeah, I would call that Christian passing.
Okay.
Meaning that, like, saying I'm a Christian, I wear the cross, I go into Fox News and say, get all them out. And they say, the refugees really need help. And you're like, no, close the door.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or you turn around because you found out the Pope retweeted some terrible things about Trump.
Uh-huh.
And then you say you don't want this woke Pope anymore.
Uh-huh.
You want a new Pope.
Yeah.
But you're Christian. Like, that to me is Christian passing, because you are not acting like anything to do with what Christians actually believe, right? Or is written. And you're Christian passing because you wear the cross.
Yeah.
You go to church, but what you believe at your core is not that. So that's what I mean.
Okay, then yes.
Yeah.
Then yes.
Christian passing,
I think because that is a part of my, like, upbringing and whatnot, and what I view now. Like, I think it's almost normal. It's not, but like, the point is, like, I deal with it on the regular, so like, this doesn't seem as foreign as that does.
I got you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. I think the reason why it probably was sent into us is because I think before, if you were in a relationship with a guy and you found out that he happened to love George Bush, it'd be like, whatever, my boyfriend loves George Bush.
Right.
But because of the climate that we're in now,
Yeah.
you find out that he's listening to Andrew Tate, or that he loves the Madman, or like
The what?
the Madman.
Oh,
Or,
I heard Merman. I was like, ooh.
or like he listens to Joe Rogan a lot, right?
Yeah.
In your mind, I'm sure as a female that is liberal, you're like, which part of this dumpster fire do you agree with?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? You didn't have to worry when it was George Bush. You might agree. You might be like, he's an idiot. He voted for George Bush.
Right.
But if the story would begin and end at there, and you probably wouldn't talk about it again to the next election.
Right.
But now it's like, do I need to be scared about you?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it also, because it's more, Andrew Tate is a specific person, right? And I think what it is teaching, what it's preaching, is against you and your identity, period. So I do think that it's, regardless of all of this conversation, yes, it's a red flag. Regardless of if you're conservative or not, it's still a red flag because of what that teaching is.
Well, I would go as far as to say that the relationship is over. Like, and if you're waiting for us to tell you that, then I'm going to tell you that. The relationship is over. If you have a guy that is religiously listening to Andrew Tate, who is a very well-known person of wanting to motivate men into treating women poorly.
Yeah.
Or you have a guy who's listening to right-wing propaganda about women should be in the kitchen and not have jobs and breed, then I don't think that is someone that is for you. If they are, and I think it's even worse if they're pretending to not be that.
Yeah, I think that's...
Because what is it? They're just trying to trap you? And
right, that sounds like
they get you, then you're going to have an apron on and be in the kitchen, shackled to the oven.
We need this needs to be a horror film that's similar to Get Out, but from the female perspective.
I think this would be a good film where you meet a guy, and he appears to be liberal, open.
Wait, who's the director of Get Out? You remember?
Ryan Coogler? No. Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele, we got a new idea for you.
I'm telling you.
Take this viewer.
I'm telling you.
No, seriously.
Yeah. And then he turns out to be right-wing crazy person.
Honestly, it kind of sounds like the Ready or Not. You know that there's 2 marriage films that came out where, like, the
one when the family trying to kill her.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm marrying this great guy, and then
he turns out to be...
you turn out to be a game for the family to kill you.
I'm just saying. I think the relationship is over, and I think you're silly if you are writing and expecting for advice that is going to
love him anyway. No. No. The one thing that I could argue doesn't help all that much would be that maybe he's doing it to see another perspective, right? Like,
why isn't he? It sounds like she's found out. It doesn't sound like he's sharing. Because if he was sharing, he'd be like, hey babe, look at what this crazy person is saying.
Right.
It sounds like she's gone onto his Spotify and seen all this shit. And she's like, oh, my boyfriend's a weirdo. Well,
time to go.
Yes, that does bring us to the end of the show.
I was waiting for you. Oh, but yes, for us too.
It does.
Thank you for joining us. Please follow all of our channels.
Holdin Space Pod. Send your questions to holdinspacepod@gmail.com. We love to hear from you and rate and review the show. wherever you watch it. Thank you so much, and see you soon.